So today I'm going to be talking about how COVID-19 has affected the schools in Africa. So to start off, I just want to give a little bit of background on how COVID has been progressing in Africa. So the first case, or the first positive case, was on February 14th, 2020, and as of December 4th, it has been in 55 different countries, and there have been 2,234,778 confirmed cases. There's been 53,278 deaths, 1,905,750 recovered cases, and they have been taking a lot of drastic measures, and so that's how there have been so many recovered cases, which I'll talk about in the next slide. But as you can see in this little graphic here, that Africa, this is cases per day, and you can see that their spike was in late July, early August, and September, which could correlate to sending students back to school. So some historical background is the Ebola outbreak that happened in Africa. So they already kind of knew some of the health measures that have been used to prevent diseases, including isolation, contact tracing, and quarantining while waiting for the results. This outbreak was years ago, but they still knew what to do when it comes to disease. But in other places like the Democratic Republic of Congo, they were still dealing with the Ebola outbreak. So, along with them and some other neighboring areas, they were already doing health screening for the travelers traveling around there to see if they had Ebola or not. So, once COVID-19 hit, they just extended those testings to also include COVID-19. So now moving into COVID-19 in schools, the lockdown in Africa started on March 30th, 2020, and this just began an infinite holiday for students rather than lessons right away. And in places like Zimbabwe, Zoom started in late May, or in some areas it even didn't start until the next year, causing students to repeat the grade that they did not finish. So the audience for this story are parents feeling similar emotions. Like one story was just about what parents were going through in interviews with them, and they expressed that they cannot supervise their children while they're online, and they're worried about their children and family. And also citizens can be following the story, just wanting updates about their community and how it's going. And then other schools can be looking at the story to see COVID updates and just what to do with their school. So, like I was saying, the audience for the story is parents, and this goes into the larger narrative with students having a lot of problems using the online tools. So, one article was saying how what parents are going through and interviews from multiple different parents. And one was saying that her daughter is online from 9 to 3 with very minimal breaks and still gets homework that have to be online. And another woman was saying that they have children in grade 7 and the teacher just stopped doing lessons without any explanation at all. And this is going to affect her child in their examinations at the end of the year because if their teacher is not helping at all, this is really going to affect their performance during this examination and show that they really didn't make any progress since the year before. And like I said, participation is going down because students can't really work the computer as well when they're young and they're alone. So another larger narrative for this is that teenage pregnancy, theft, and rape cases have drastically gone up since the pandemic started. So once a young woman will become pregnant, it's most likely that she won't return to school. So because of the pandemic, there's going to be lower dropout rates because of things like this. And then there also has been a lot of money issues for families since the pandemic started. Families need to stay home because of the stay-at-home orders, but then also they cannot work, so they're not making money. So the little bit of money they are making, they're not going to use to buy data for the students to be able to do their classes online. So that's going to cause the students to not be able to work. So the family has food instead of spending the money on data. So that's going to also increase dropout rates. So, negative consequences of reporting this story is that some people aren't going to agree or even listen to what the articles are saying, and that the cases are skyrocketing. So, as you can see in this photo here, this is one teacher whose school decided to go back, and she did not agree with this, and either did her coworkers, as you can see in the photo. So, they all decided to protest against the school, and they ignore these cases and continue to reopen as a school districts or as companies because they can make money off of being in person. So some positives of reporting this is that it really helps other parents know that they're not going through this alone and that it will be better for their child in the future to not go to school because they won't get sick and they won't have to spend the money then to keep their child at home longer. So cases will decrease eventually by keeping their students at home. And why does this story matter? This African newspaper tells a story that's been ongoing since March and will continue to go until the vaccine comes out and there are less and less positive cases in a shorter amount of time. And these newspapers relaying the story is the truth behind COVID. It's important to inform the parents about the positive cases and that it's not safe to return their children to school. Because if schools choose to ignore these newspapers and tell their parents that it is okay to come back, the parents will believe them and send their students back to school, causing them to maybe get sick. And the pandemic is very unpredictable and uncontrollable. So having these news articles with true information is important to keep everyone up to date. Here are my 10 sources.